Depending on who you ask, sharks are swarming Canadian waters. You can go cage diving with great whites off the coast of Nova Scotia. Yet, encounters are still rare, and attacks on humans are even more rare. In fact, according to the Canadian Shark Attack Registry, which you can look for online, there have only been 29 documented shark incidents or attacks in Canadian history. Shark attacks are defined as an aggressive action involving a shark, ranging from a bite on a surfboard to death. The CSAR is a valuable resource that documents, provides context, and offers education on the attacks over the years, at least the ones that have been documented. But even more interesting is the fact that of those 29 documented attacks, 7 of them are seriously in doubt, debunked, or just unconfirmed for various reasons. Today, we're going to explore those controversial shark attacks to see which ones may still hold water. Whether it's the tale of a man who fought a shark to the death, or a child who was sacrificed to assuage the hunger of a ferocious attack. Some of these incidents continue to give sharks a bad name. 1846, Quebec and Nunavut. 2 of the earliest shark attacks recorded in Canadian history happened around the same time, and despite being reported as hundreds of miles apart, they also share key details and are remarkably similar. Let's take a look at both these stories before passing judgment. Our first story was relayed by Robert Michael Ballantyne, an accomplished Scottish author and artist. He briefly documented a horrific shark attack in his 1848 novel, Everyday Life in the Wilds of North America. The occurrence took place along the Moisey River in Quebec, where frequent disappearances of fishermen led to the belief that sharks were devouring people. According to the story, this did not stop an Inuit family, consisting of a man, wife, and several children, from traveling downriver in their sturdy birch-back canoe. A massive white shark rose from the depths and began attacking their canoe, repeatedly rushing it over and over. The shark began to tear apart the canoe piece by piece as the family made for shore, and the man fired his gun at the creature to no avail. As the boat began to leak, the desperate man made a horrific decision. He threw his youngest child, only a few months old, overboard to be devoured by the shark in order to distract it long enough so that the rest of the family could make it to shore. What's even worse than a man sacrificing his son to a shark? It happening twice. This time a family in Nunavut in a kayak instead of a canoe. Much like the first story, the man sacrificed the youngest member of his family to escape. Both stories are ghastly, but is there any truth to them? The odds of the same thing happening twice in the same year are next to none. But what about both versions being from one original story? After all, it's 1846, record keeping is not great. Perhaps it was retold again and again, and eventually some key details were changed. But there are still details included in both stories that make no sense. In both accounts, a sacrifice of an infant child is made seemingly with no hesitation by his father. What father, no matter how panicked, would do such a thing? There are other inconsistencies as well, such as the size of the vessel, the shark's uncharacteristic obsession with taking it down, and even the shallowness of the bodies of water described. This calls the entire story into question. With little concrete evidence addressing the inconsistencies, both of these shark attacks are dubious at best. 1859, human leg in Greenland shark, Nunavut. Sometimes shark attacks are documented without the victim ever being identified. A Greenland shark was reportedly captured off the coast of Pond Inlet, Nunavut, a common spot for these types of sharks. What was less common was the human leg that was found in its stomach. Greenland sharks have incredibly long lifespans, living for hundreds of years. Although they're as old as dinosaurs, they're not as deadly. They're large, but sluggish and nearly blind. Not known to be particularly aggressive, they target smaller prey. This attack is not only the only one in Canada, but also the only one in recorded history worldwide. It was classified as such with no victim or means of identifying the source of the leg. The habitat of the shark was not exactly a prime swimming spot for locals, it's freezing cold, so uncovering what could have occurred was next to impossible. However, other options make a bit more sense than a shark attack, such as the leg being from someone who drowned from a passing ship. They could have been lost in the water and the shark could have just taken advantage of the free meal. With it being such an early account and no one to verify or investigate the circumstances further, this report remains an interesting, if unconfirmed, account of a shark's interactions with humans. 1891 man killed after falling overboard. A French schooner had an unexpected visitor as it sailed the coast of Halifax. A shark had been following the craft and tracking its movements hundreds of miles as it traveled, adding to the ever-growing list of dangers that sailors face. Unable to ward off the visitor, disaster struck at the absolutely worst possible time. Young John Rolt, only 21 at the time, was struck and reportedly fell overboard. According to his shipmates, he was instantly grabbed by the shark with its powerful jaws and dragged away. Both he and the shark were never seen again. The only piece of evidence around this death was a write-up that appeared in the August 31st, 1891 edition of the Washington Post. It was the first reported shark attack in Nova Scotia's history. Several questions remain. How did John fall overboard at such a vulnerable time, right into the jaws of an awaiting shark? Could he have been pushed? Did something else happen to him? If the sailors noted that the shark was following them, why did they not identify the species or give key details? With so little evidence, some doubt the legitimacy of this attack. 1925 shark killed. Okay, this one is crazy. Vancouver is not typically known as a hotbed of shark sightings. Despite this, 4 species of sharks roam the waters, including the great white shark, though they are more rare to spot than the others. Most sharks have a diet of smaller fish and sea life and would rarely interact meaningfully with humans. Only a few minor incidents with sharks have ever been recorded in all of British Columbia in the last 100 years. But the attack that took place on January 8, 1925 is anything but minor. John Bruce was a commercial hard hat diver working in Vancouver during the construction of the Second Narrows Bridge. As a diver, his assistance below the waves was important for the long-term health of the precious infrastructure that was blooming across the city. The job came with many risks, probably one of the more dangerous careers you could have. That mostly stemmed from the fact that he would spend most of his time 95 feet underwater in a heavy diving apparatus. Just the week before, he claimed he had fended off an attacking octopus. He now carried an iron bar with him in case any other sea creatures wanted to attack him. On this particular day, he had been surveying for leaks in the pipes deep below when he saw a dark shadow approaching him in the depths. And then, it attacked. Bruce managed to fend it off with his tools, but he was locked in a standoff and unable to get away in his heavy equipment. Over 15 minutes, the shark made 3 attacks while Bruce waved wildly. He waited for his chance and got the shark with an uppercut as it approached again, followed by another blow over the head that stunned it. Now Bruce was on the offensive, with 2 more blows before the shark stopped, beaten to death by the diver it had attacked. Bruce was exhausted and needed to signal his coworkers to bring him up. His takedown of the shark was legendary. Bruce was a hero, finding himself on the front page of the Vancouver Sun. But is it true? A man beating a shark to death underwater in a cumbersome suit? With no photos or verification of the shark species, it's impossible to know. Even if the shark died, it could have been by other means, and Bruce could have just made up this story. The benefit of the doubt says he stared down death and won. Reality's harder to believe. You be the judge. 2019 surfers stalked in Nova Scotia. Over the next 100 years, the reported shark attacks were fairly solid. It became easier to verify them. But some incidents are still tricky. Take this event in 2019, not an attack, but a close call, so still categorized as an incident. A group of surfers hit the waves off White Point in Nova Scotia. They were having a great day until it took a turn when one of them noticed a 1 meter tall dorsal fin following them. Wanting to create as much distance as possible, they tried to get to shore, but the creature appeared attuned to their movements, positioning itself between the beach and the surfers, not letting them pass. It seemed to be cutting off their escape and actively stalking them. The surfers were so unsettled that they doubled back on their boards to swim to the shore on the other side. They were not taking any risks and made the long journey to shore before hiking 3 kilometers back to their vehicles. They were terrified. They reported the encounter, even though there was no violent interaction. While multiple witnesses corroborated this story, the shark itself was never confirmed. 2021 swimmer bitten in Nova Scotia. A 22-year-old swimmer off the coast of Cape Breton was bitten once on the thigh, leaving her badly injured and in need of an airlift to receive medical attention. Thankfully, she survived, albeit with many stitches, and her family confirmed that she was smiling and recovering well. The attack occurred during late summer when warmer waters would draw in more seals and potentially sharks who were hunting them. Witnesses of the attack noted a blackish fin cutting through the water before and after the attack, but it was not positively identified. Other than the initial report, no one has come forward with further details that could verify the incident. Great white sharks do frequent these waters, making the attack plausible, and the area is specifically home to younger sharks who are still developing their sense and ability to discern what is prey and what is not. Without a professional analysis of the wound that the swimmer got, the attack remains unconfirmed. And that's the last one. Many of the stories are fascinating examples of human imagination and interactions with animals, but as a reminder, out of 29, with 7 maybe in doubt, these are the only sort of shark attacks that have happened. So what is your favorite controversial or unconfirmed shark attack in Canadian history? Let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening.